listening to Pop This, the podcast where three women talk about pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen, Andrea Gin, and Andrea Warner.
Okay, hi everybody. Long time no chat.
What do we do here again? What's Oh, that's right. We did the
How
podcast.
is everybody? Well, welcome back, Lisa Christiansen.
Thank you. Yes, I was on vacation and missed you and sent weird postcard, and now I'm back.
I love it.
That's my whole trip right there.
You.
Well, I missed you too, and I'm glad I was missed. It's nice to know I missed after this many years of making the podcast. It would be really depressing if you guys were like, hardly noticed you were gone. So thank you.
No, you were absolutely missed.
And
so what did everybody do in the last few weeks since we've been on our holiday schedule?
I feel like we're doing essays for back to school. What I did on my summer vacation.
Yeah. I mean, I was just here, just doing the regular work stuff and writing and blah blah blah. And I'm about to go away for a few weeks, so this is the nice hinge point in our 2 months of sort of summer programming is like we come back together for like one day, record a few episodes, and then I'll see you again in another month.
Disperse. Yes.
I know.
Yeah.
And I was like Chevy Chase and went on a European vacation. Luckily not filled with so much hijinks, but it was lovely to get away, and it was really lovely to get home, and my bags all made it, and so the fear of the airports were fine.
That's great.
That's great.
What about you, AJ?
So I went on a classic summer road trip to visit my husband, Joe's mother, so my mother-in-law. She lives in Lethbridge, Alberta. And we decided to drive through the United States on the way there. So Washington State, Montana, and then Lethbridge.
Mm-hmm.
And it was our first trip in a while, since the pandemic started.
Yeah.
Or going down to the States anyway. And first of all, of course, we hit Trader Joe's.
Yes, of course, yes.
And then we went to this town called Leavenworth, Washington.
Oh, yeah.
The Bavarian town.
Yep.
And so basically Leavenworth is this place where, some time ago they were going through an economic downturn, and the whole town decided that they needed to attract tourists. And in order to do that, they would convert to being a Bavarian town. And so basically every person who lives in this town has a side gig doing something German for tourists.
Is there any other connection
matter.
besides that? Was there some...
I mean, there's a ski hill there, so it's kind of like an Alpen kind of feel, but otherwise I don't know. All the buildings are made to look Bavarian, white with the black.
I remember learning
trim.
about this several years ago. I've still never been to it. I know you go. You've been a few times.
To go.
And
Yeah,
is there
I've heard.
pop music all the time? And
Yeah, there's a woman that she plays the Alpenhorn in the center of town every morning.
Wow.
Even the signs all have to be in a sort of Bavarian font, and even Starbucks or Subway or the gas station, they're wood carved signs.
And are you the one who told me that they have a Sound of Music recreation every summer?
And so we went to see the Sound of Music. And this is the thing, they got this amazing young woman to play Maria from New York, a student, NYU theater grad or whatever. She had an amazing, incredible voice. And she could just really project through the whole amphitheater. It's great. And then every other role was played by local actors.
Ooh.
And the children were adorable. but there are other strong characters too, but it just kind of I don't know, because I guess they cast obviously the characters according to what their real life ages were. and whatnot. Like, and so it just seemed like the age gap between Maria and Captain Von Trapp was like really palatable. Palpable.
Was it the mayor playing Captain Von
like
Trapp?
yeah, it was like someone, because like, you know, the girl playing Maria was quite young. She seemed like, you know, 19, 20 or something.
Oh, yikes.
And Captain Von Trapp, you know, like in his 50s.
Ooh.
And then you start
very
thinking about the
Hollywood, though.
story.
Yeah.
You started thinking about the story and you're like, this is a little uncomfortable. Like, you know, he's her employer. There's a huge age gap. She's being pressed into caring for all these children. She's just like out of a nunnery. Like, it's all feels, you start like thinking about the story a little bit, and it starts making you feel a bit uncomfortable. But other than that, you know, it was a pleasant, fun evening.
Amazing.
It was a fun production. The kids were adorable. They all sang really well, and the production itself was really creative. Like, they had, you know, the family disappearing into the hillside and stuff, and
all the songs, and you sang along.
Yeah, people were singing. It was nice.
Was it an outside theater, or what was it?
Yeah, it was an outdoor amphitheater.
Wow.
But another thing I was just going to mention is that it's been like a while since we've stayed in hotels. And I've noticed now that for TV, hotels are just setting up like Roku or something and telling people to log into their own like Netflix or own Amazon or their own Crave to watch TV.
Oh, weird.
That's now the standard thing, seemingly. But so as a result, in almost every hotel we stayed in, it was logged into somebody else's like Netflix account. Like,
I don't know how to
no
log
one
out.
ever log out of it on your way out of the hotel.
Oh, yeah.
And so so I don't know if anyone has noticed this, but yeah, you can travel through the United States now and watch like a bunch of people's Netflix, Amazon, and Crave accounts.
That's awesome. I really like that for some reason.
That's too bad, because one of the
like,
joys of a hotel stay is to watch local news. This is what I think anyway. I love local news from wherever I am.
My joy is because we don't have cable. I love to be able to catch an episode of What Not to Wear. I know they're repeats, but like it's one of my favorite things is to, or just like an old Law and Order or something.
Yeah.
I have like some real comfort watches on cable TV.
Yeah. Well, I think some hotels will still have that live TV part, but if you want to watch anything else, it's like log into your own thing. And as a result, you'll see this like entire family's like Amazon account come up.
Wow. that can go seriously awry.
I know. And you're like, how long have people been staying in this room and watching this family's Amazon?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Nobody knows.
Well, I mean, one of the things that like it would really screw with your like algorithm at home.
Yeah.
Like, just imagine so if I was watching someone else's Netflix, suddenly they would only have like they'd have, it would be like such a sad, like it would be like, why is this woman constantly rewatching Gilmore Girls?
Yeah.
Why like what is wrong with her?
Who's
like
still
what
watching
like,
Suits?
Yeah, like this is a cry for help, this account.
But that potentially will never get corrected, because like who is ever gonna figure out why this is happening to their Netflix account?
I mean, if they listen to this podcast, they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So like, oh yeah, I stayed in that hotel one night like 8 months ago and forgot to log out of my account.
And
Honey,
one
did
has
we
logged
log
out
out of our hotel in Leavenworth?
I love it. Is this your way of telling us that now someone else has the recording, like that has the data that you watched JLo's halftime in Leavenworth? Is that what you're telling us? Is the like now like, this is what you have done to this person's account? And honestly, good. They're lucky. If they hadn't already watched it, I am glad.
Some couple could be having an argument because of that and just being like, how dare you watch that show without me?
Exactly.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I didn't
That's
know.
true.
I promise. I didn't.
Well, I'm very excited because we are going to talk about JLo's halftime right now. I'm Andrea
segue.
Warner.
One of the best
Yeah.
segues ever.
Thank you. Thank you so
it was
much.
very good. And,
I wasn't even going to like acknowledge it myself this time. All right. I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
I'm Andrea Gin.
And you're listening to Pop This. Yay!
Yay!
We're back.
We're back. It's summer, and we're here. It's summer weather.
Everyone else is just like, yeah, we know. We like have been listening to the show.
But it'll be September when this episode comes out.
It's still summer.
Summer
weather.
until,
Honestly,
21st,
summer-ish.
sad. Well, and honestly, with climate change, we might have summer until the end of November. Who knows? We'll see.
knows?
What does that mean about the wearing white rule?
I mean, I never listened to it. Did you? Do you wear a lot of white? I don't wear a lot of white, so it
I
never
don't wear
applied
a
to
lot of
me.
white.
I'm like,
I have some white denims I occasionally throw on. So
yeah. But do you ever like
after
Labor
Labor
Day?
Day?
Like, do you?
yes, I have been known to wear
exactly.
my white jeans whenever
good.
I darn well please.
Good.
Yeah,
Good. I think that's
Okay,
important.
we're rule breakers here.
Great.
That's right.
And I love that.
Yeah.
Also, so is J-Lo. I'm going to read the background a little bit. Jennifer Lopez Halftime is a 2022 American Netflix original documentary directed by Amanda Michelli. Halftime premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival in June 2022 and had its world premiere on Netflix on June 14th, 2022. Like, we're so current with this. It's the same year.
It's I just it hasn't even hit its third anniversary yet.
Nope.
I know. It's so new. It has like the background is like one sentence. The synopsis is one sentence.
I love it though, because it really allows us to get right into the meat of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Elisa, would you like to read the synopsis?
Sure. The story follows the career of Jennifer Lopez with a heavy focus on her performance at the Super Bowl halftime show and her film Hustlers that came out in 2019. And I guess to be more accurate, it would be around the Oscar buzz of the film Hustlers, if you can remember back to 2019.
Well, the Golden Globe buzz and the
Yeah.
Oscar buzz, and I think, and I guess like that kind of ended up being, well, and then it sort of delves into a bit of the pandemic in 2020, and like this, the Super Bowl happened before
Ben Affleck makes an appearance.
Ben Affleck does make an appearance, and honestly, like
Where's Alex Rodriguez? They must have scrubbed that guy out of, like, there must have been so many shots with him.
I love that he's scrubbed from this thing.
Yeah.
I love
nothing, not a mention, nary even a note.
Good.
Yeah, I know.
Good,
It just made me laugh very hard.
And honestly, the one inclusion of Ben Affleck that's even like vaguely contemporary is just like him, like him sort of stating what she said to him, which is like, you need to check your white male privilege. Honestly, it's the most useful Ben Affleck quote
Yes.
I have seen in some time. J-Lo makes him a better man. I'm going to say it right now.
Yeah.
We all know it, but this is proof positive.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, look at just like his trajectory over the last, I don't know how many months that, their relationship has been rekindled for, and now they're married.
Yeah.
Like he kind of
Married twice.
went from being this like meme of sadness to being this guy who jet sets around the world with J-Lo.
Yeah.
No, he can, I'm not going to say she can do better because, well, she's going to give it a shot every few years.
For sure.
So we'll see how this one goes. But, I think is the expression five's a charm, or is it four?
I have no idea. But you know what? However long they take and however long they work out together, great.
Exactly.
Thrilled for her.
You know what?
Yeah.
I enjoyed seeing all of her outfits from her honeymoon.
Oh, me too.
And the walk around Italy, the walk around Paris. Lovely.
Yeah. And honestly, I know that this documentary, like, obviously she has a huge hand in what gets depicted and what is seen, and it's not as revealing as it could be, but I also think she goes to lots of places that are extremely vulnerable. I cried a few times in this documentary.
What parts?
I cried when she talked about her mom and that very complicated dynamic.
Yeah.
And even just acknowledging like the physical abuse from her mom. And like, I think like leaving that in there is it's a big thing to be honest about and still be able to depict how you and your mom are able to still have a relationship that's functioning to this day. Because I think a lot of people have experiences with like parents who used corporal punishment. I mean, I don't personally, so it's very hard for me to imagine, but I know a lot of people do. And it was very like normalized for like a long time in lots of different households. And so I think it's very powerful to talk about it openly and not pretend it didn't happen, you know? And so I just, like, this movie gave me so much more context for the things that we have talked about what we like about Jennifer Lopez for so long. You know what I mean? Like, it just like, and it also gave me a lot of compassion for how much she does really desperately want to be taken seriously.
That's the thing that made me think when I watched this movie, because on the one hand, it's about this, woman who's had an insanely successful career on many different fronts, acting, singing,
Dancing.
business person.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time has this sort of deep craving for recognition.
Yeah.
And that was a little surprising to me.
I was not surprised. I shouldn't say it like that, but every once in a while you get this kind of buzz around your head, like what it would be like to be famous. And all it showed me was it's very busy and I'm very lazy. And there's absolutely no way I would want a schedule like the one that she keeps. And there's no way that I would care as much about the things that you were both mentioning, that, wanting to be taken seriously and, wanting to be always a little bit better than yesterday. It's an impressive drive that I do not possess. I'll just say that right now.
I mean, it is sort of extraordinary to like think about how it's never enough, because it's not the kind of success that she's looking for. Because the kind of success that she's looking for, not to get too like psychoanalyst about it, but is like validation, right? Like she says it herself, like her sister was the smart one, her other sister was the one who could sing, and she was like just an athlete. She wasn't smart, she couldn't sing, and she could just dance. And obviously she has spent her life proving otherwise to like a huge degree, but like never, still seemingly just never, ever, ever having found a place where she feels satisfied. And I'm just deeply interested in that, because like,
yeah,
she in the film she's at like an apex, right? Like another career apex. But they also make, I think, a really good point of stating like it's been 20 years since her last big apex. And then in that 20-year valley between these two moments, she has built a huge career. She had a bunch of albums. She's had tons of Grammys, like
Vegas residency, and
she's had a ton of stuff. But she also has been like a pop culture joke and like a bit of a.
But so what was the apex 20 years ago?
Was when she was nominated for the Golden Globe for Selena, and
I see.
And
Okay.
had Out of Sight, and like was sort of in that moment where her album and Made in Manhattan like put her at the top of the box office, right? Like she had like a 5-year run, and then in between, not a lot, like.
Well, I don't know, because like she was in a bunch of rom-coms that were super successful.
But like,
I don't know, like in my
it's all
mind
super
as
successful.
a viewer,
Like it's all super successful in sort of like this gendered lens. Like we look differently at rom-coms now than we did back in the day, right? Like I feel like because a lot of the stuff that she was making was considered sort of like chick flick fodder, quote unquote, is people weren't taking her that seriously as like an actor, and they always have made fun of her singing and like that she doesn't actually sing. And she's, and a lot of some of the framing of her stuff is like that she marries too many people, that her butt is like big, and that she's and then weird, like subject to weird racist stereotypes, like it's been kind of interesting. Like I don't remember a time that well, like, or I do remember a time when like Jennifer Lopez was like a pretty big pop culture joke.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think she's also been there for so many important pop culture moments, like the dress.
Yeah, the dress.
The dress, yeah. And so I think
That launched Google Images.
Yes,
yeah,
that launched Google Images,
yeah,
exactly.
I mean, that's something that we all know about her. Like, if you were to ask somebody what they know about Jennifer Lopez, I'm sure, Oscar caliber actor is not going to be the first thing at the top of their list.
Yeah. I was interested to read. Well, I don't know. Like, maybe I just kind of I didn't follow her career that closely between, like, I don't know, 20 years ago and a few years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I was interested to read that another big resurgence in her career was when she became an American Idol judge.
Yeah, like, but I don't know. I had thought that was kind of like a sort of settling thing. Like, that's like a paycheck and it's steady work and you do it because you have kids and you want to see them and stuff, and that's cool. But, like, I don't know. I never really thought about American Idol as being like a career resurgence. I always kind of thought about it as a place where, like, you go when your career is a little bit on hold. Am I wrong?
Yeah,
like,
no,
I don't know.
But I
Right,
mean,
yeah.
I guess like a lot of people watched it.
Oh,
so
sure.
it kind of
Sure. Like, millions and
returned
millions
her
of
to
people watch it.
prominence.
Like, I get that. To me, it always felt like just like a settling
But-
in a weird way.
Yeah, but I mean, like, she got paid like $20 million to be a judge.
Oh yeah, but the thing is, like, it just
and it kind of led to like all these other things. Like, she became a brand ambassador for like L'Oreal and Fiat and Venus, and so I don't know. Like, it was kind of a career resurgence in terms of returning her to being
Talked
like a
about.
commercially
Yeah.
viable.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
seemed that, again, it's always right back to the hustle that she has, which is to always, at some way, to be in the spotlight, whatever that looks like, whatever options. It's like I can just imagine her sitting there with all of the options and choosing American Idol because at least I'll be out there. People will know what I'm doing. And that speaks to, how she constantly wants to be talked about. She wants to be out there. She wants to be in that conversation, whatever way that is.
But I think she wants to be talked about in a good way. Like, that's the distinction. Like, she's not like someone who's like all press is good press. Like, I think she specifically sort of communicates through the documentary is that, like, she wants to be given her flowers a little bit for the milestones that she really has achieved. Because, like, I think she actually has done a tremendous amount, in the same way that, like, obviously we all know this, that, like, tons of women's achievements go minimized and erased and are unacknowledged because, that's just the patriarchy. That's just the world we've existed in. And it's changing, and I hope it will continue to change. But, like, she certainly hasn't been celebrated to the same extent that, like, if there were sort of, like, let's even say, like, if we have to, like, sort of, like, cross compare her to another Latin music star, think about, like, how much ink Ricky Martin had for, like, a very specific amount of time, and how celebrated he was, and the different, like, records that he broke, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, his story went in, like, some slightly different directions, but, like, he got so much credit, and J-Lo got so little credit. And she was doing 3 times the work that he was in 3 different careers, And so I think even that, and I mean, obviously that's, like, then nothing compared to, like, a white male pop star like Justin Timberlake. Like, that's a whole other stratosphere of getting tons of credit for, like, tons of work that he's not actually that good at. I said it. I don't like Justin Timberlake. I'm sorry.
I think we've established that on this podcast before.
But I mean, I just think that her longevity is, I don't know if, like, you can think of anyone who has been so consistently, putting out work that is appreciated on some level by the American public, and, maintained her status as a pop culture icon consistently for so long. Like, she's never really gone away.
I mean, the only, like, Madonna obviously is sort of, like, one person, but she has kind of had these moments that are, like, fallow and stuff. Like, I think of like the big pop divas who do cross into film and then television and stuff like that. Like, I mean, Mariah Carey, like.
But she's never reinvented. That's the interesting thing about Jennifer Lopez. Like, if you're going to bring up someone like Madonna or bring up Beyonce or something, like, there's a reinvention every few years, a whole new kind of way of doing things and a new concept album. Jennifer Lopez has never been that. It's
she's
Jennifer
like,
Lopez or nobody at all. It's just exactly what she has to offer. She's never changed that product once.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, I mean, most recently, she's now Jennifer Affleck. So.
Okay, well, is she Jennifer Affleck now?
Yeah, she legally changed her name.
Oh, you're kidding! Wow, she did.
But
she
like
didn't do
front
that.
facing,
Wow.
she's still Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
Oh
not.
my God, Carlos was trying to tell me that like her new name, if she's Jennifer Lopez Affleck, is like J-Loaf. And I was like, oh no. You're right. I can't argue with that. Like that's
J-Lo.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think she in her Wikipedia page it says her name is Jennifer Lynn Affleck.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
All right.
Interesting. But I mean, you know, some J-Lo fan is changing that because that's. I thought it was okay. So one of the things that I loved so much about this documentary in this particular time that it was filmed in is I felt like we were watching like the low-key radicalization of Jennifer Lopez. I loved to hear her having this sort of like this moment that she sort of claims that she is sort of not, that hasn't been that political in the past, but that now she, in facing this like absolutely at the time, like, and I'm probably still, let's face it, just like these horrifying racist policies and things that were happening with building a wall and all this other stuff. Like there was just like so much racialized violence alive and well during that time. I'm not going to say it's not still alive and well, but it's like it was a different time. And that being like her moment where she realizes like she has to stand up and say something, that she is really called to action in this way. And I was really happy to witness that, because I'm always thrilled for anyone when they, particularly, I think it's so interesting. Like she knows that she has experienced all kinds of, racist and gendered aggressions and microaggressions and all kinds of different things over the years. So her identity has been politicized a lot. She has chosen to not sort of necessarily publicly make a ton of political statements. And so then she gets this like invitation to be at the Super Bowl, and it's still only really like half the invitation that a white male artist would get, for sure.
Yeah.
Because she's asked to share the stage with Shakira and share her time. And she decides that she is going to like take this moment to make a really big political statement. And I really loved seeing it. I don't care what was craftfully chosen to depict in the documentary. I don't care if there were moments that were designed. I think any chance we have to like document a person of that stature and that like level of icon status, choosing to like be subversive in the public eye and on the biggest stage in the world at that moment, like I just love that. And I was so thrilled.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was a really, powerful element to her Super Bowl show that kind of is what pushed it into being one of the greatest Super Bowl halftime shows of all time. You know what I mean? Because there was like some meaning to it. It wasn't just like a song and dance show.
Yeah. And
it was a good one too. It was great.
And it was a great show.
Remember too, I watch the Super Bowl anyway, but obviously halftime shows are pretty great. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Maroon 5.
And I mean, because like I mean, we do have to remember too that it was the Super Bowl show that Rihanna had turned down in support of Colin Kaepernick. And so, like in retrospect and in looking at it, it feels good that JLo did make a political statement of her own.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt necessary just because of the circumstances in which, like she was doing the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I
it
also-
was interesting to see the politics going on too behind the scenes at the conversations that were going on. They were pretty fascinating.
I kind of can't believe she was able to show them. I am so curious about, I know this is like not that interesting to other people necessarily, but like just the legal documents that allowed her to show what she did of her conversations behind the scenes while she's like, hearing that like the highest people have said she has to like get rid of the cages and she refuses. Like, I am so fascinated to know how she was able to show these different things. I guess she didn't identify people by name or whatever. But like just the artfulness of the contracts that have to be negotiated to be able to depict those things. Incredible.
And the breaking down the performance by minute.
Yeah.
I thought that was super
Seconds,
fascinating.
even. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, how you're going to make that turn, how you're going to share the time. I also thought I was kind of surprised to see her be so vocal about how disappointed she was having to share the stage.
I thought that was so important.
I did, but I just was surprised.
Yeah. But I think they made a good point about why it was so disappointing, and they really laid the blame squarely on the NFL, which I think was really smart and good. And she had other folks who were able to sort of speak to that as well. I always forget how it just sort of floors me all the time about how like Shakira is like 4'8". I know that has nothing to do with anything, but I just always forget how tiny she is, especially and then standing next to JLo. Like for JLo to look like a very, very, very tall human, you have to be standing next to Shakira. That's like the only option. But one of the things I loved so much was I loved seeing her daughter up there performing with her.
I did too. Yeah.
Yes.
I loved
That was a great
spending
moment.
time with Esme a little bit, like even just a little bit that we get of her, like in the doc was so fun. And I really appreciated like showing the work that all the dancers of all different levels and all different like age ranges, that like when you see those kids react to the footwork of that dance troupe, and they're just, it was great. I loved that.
That's where you were
so
crying,
much.
right?
No,
You look
I
like
did
you're
not
gonna cry
actually.
now.
I did.
Talking about the young girls dancing.
I cried when JLo started crying, thinking about like her daughter, and like that moment, and like, and I cried when she talked about her mom a bit, and I did cry, even though like it felt kind of staged and like whatever. I don't care. I did cry when like the little girls were like, "Oh my God, we're so excited to be," and just like having their moment, like celebrating with her, and like. Because what a huge deal for them, Like, I don't know. It just seemed nice.
Did you hear the latest thing about Heather Morris?
Yeah.
From Glee said
I love it.
That she fired people because of their astrology sign?
Because they were
Yeah.
Virgos.
Yeah, Virgos.
They were Virgos. They were fired off her as dancers off her tour.
Look, I know you're a Virgo AG,
Off
but
audition.
I fully support this for JLo.
But do you know who else is a Virgo? Beyonce.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
My mom
No
is a
surprise
Virgo
there.
too. Happy birthday, Mom. It's her birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday, Lisa's mom. Yeah, I love Virgos, but honestly, like I get it. JLo is a Leo. What are you gonna do? Like, you can't.
You can't have a Leo and a Virgo together?
It's just hard work.
Yeah.
It's just hard work.
My husband Joe is a Virgo.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Leo.
Leo.
He is a Leo.
Oh.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
you
okay.
you guys make it work. I would love to actually. I should probably analyze you guys' star charts. Anyway, that's another episode maybe. Did you guys feel like this was this like the JLo had too heavy a hand in what content was included in this documentary?
Well, I think calling it a documentary is a bit of a stretch. I think that we need a new word since Netflix has, given people the ability to create these, what are we going to call them? Infotainment specials, like Taylor Swift got one. I'm about to recommend at the end of the episode, the Shania Twain one, Not Just a Girl, which I watched and enjoyed, but I don't think calling them documentaries is very.
I mean, I guess they could be like
autobiography.
Maybe like reality autobiographies or something, or autobiographical.
Yeah, but I think the word documentary, I think that conjures up some kind of like, impartial news gathering or some, otherwise something a bit more investigative. And that is not what this is.
It's not like a full vanity project necessarily, because I
would say 100% this is a vanity project.
You think it's a full vanity project?
Yeah, 100%. 110%.
I feel like, I mean, I guess so.
Even the parts that you said, seem kind of, like make her look a little bit more complicated. That's, that's all to give us.
She's choosing what to share.
She's choosing what to share. Exactly. This isn't, I don't think that, it's not like she signed off and said, you do what you want with this. I don't think that happened.
No, I agree.
But it's interesting to consider that. Like, if we think that, this is a vanity project and she's only letting us see what she wants us to see. But like, one of our takeaways is that we see that she doesn't necessarily internally feel like a star. It's like she's still working hard. She's still hustling.
That makes you like somebody more, though. Who wants to,
sees her? She still sees herself as an underdog.
Yeah, she does.
But do you think that's what she intended to show us?
Yes.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, because I do agree that, like, I think that I mean, it's literally the fulfillment of I'm still Jenny from the block, right? Like, that she's always going to be a little bit underestimated. I mean, I don't think it takes away from the truthfulness of that statement for her, or like the truthfulness of like how she feels. I guess like
I'm going to say it's like just as sort of disingenuous to me as the number of people that have tried to claim that they were the loser in high school or the geek or something. And you kind of look at them and they're going, no, I don't think you were the loser or the geek in high school. Come on, try a little bit harder. But people like that image of themselves. They like that idea that they kind of came, out of nowhere and they were the underdog, but it's not always the case. And I think that's a little bit hard sometimes to swallow that JLo thinks of herself as the underdog.
But what were your feelings when you saw the part where, like, obviously it was, like disappointing that she didn't get the nomination for Hustlers, but that scene where like afterwards, like she comes back in to see her team and she says that thing about how she feels like she let everybody down because like so many people were working hard to like hoping that she would, get that nomination. Like, I genuinely felt bad for her. And then I was like, what am I doing? This is JLo. Like, she's got an incredible life. Like this Academy Award thing doesn't really, I don't know. It's not a real problem.
No.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's not a real problem to us, but the fact that it is a real problem to her absolutely sort of like clearly demonstrates that she is a star whose life really does, it like kind of there's a hard look where you could say, well, boo-hoo, JLo. Mm-hmm. Not everyone likes you. But I think that there's something like really revealing about like, what she says, which is like, even when she's reading, she's in a full face of makeup. And I've seen her acting and I know she's a good actor, but I don't think she's a good enough actor to pull this off. She's in bed, full face of makeup. She's reading this like excerpt from like Glamour magazine or something. And it's about how she is like criminally underrated as an actor, and she has to stop to cry for like a few minutes before she can like continue on with the sentence. And I was just like, yeah, like I get this. Like, I get like how you could be absolutely sort of like celebrated to a certain extent, But if you're going to read all your reviews, all the negative stuff is going to hang out there like way bigger. It's just, she's the type of person where the negative stuff like kind of takes up all the space instead of the positive. And that's just like a hard state to be in.
Yeah, that's fair. I think she wanted us to see that part of her as well, which makes her seem humble.
Yeah.
I also know in my mind, because we watched these two movies so close together, that Marry Me and this documentary are going to become one thing in my mind.
Yeah. Well, they're actually quite similar though. It's I
think this was shot more beautifully than
Yeah.
Marry Me, I gotta say.
Yeah. And plus we didn't have to see so much of Owen Wilson.
Oh, thank God. Well, there were like different sort of like the mean-spiritedness of the 90s and the early 2000s in like the humor that people used, which I think we saw in a lot of the sort of like clips in this documentary where they're talking about her, and it's like, and again, like the just wild open racism of like the ways that they were sort of depicting her in pop culture. That stuff is terrible. Like, and I think this documentary really makes space to acknowledge that. And it's important that we look at that like really closely and think about how that has, you know, sort of been this shadow over her and her career the whole time. Like she's, again, lots of, I know that this happens to too many racialized women, but like this is just something that so many racialized women face, especially when they're in the spotlight just a little bit, and never mind a huge spotlight like J-Lo has, and it's so gross and it's so awful, and I feel like they were really holding a mirror up to that throughout this documentary, which it was important for, I think, us to acknowledge and look at, because, you know, that's stuff that just other people don't have to face at all. Yeah,
I know. And I think that was good to put in the document in the Vanity Project.
I mean, I gotta say, like, this made me, I don't know, this gave me like a different level of appreciation. Like, I know that I have not historically liked rom-coms that much, and I probably historically didn't care for J-Lo very much either. Certainly I know I didn't care for her music that much when I was younger, but I think that this documentary, like, even as a vanity project, did its job then to give me what I feel is like a fuller picture and a fuller understanding of where she's coming from.
I would say that's all fair.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in my mind, J-Lo's always been super successful at acting. I've enjoyed all of her movies, loved all the rom-coms.
I've loved them all too.
You know, Lisa, you love, what are your favorite movies?
Out of Sight.
Out of Sight.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, I definitely.
And
yeah.
I've always, you know, always been an amazing dancer. I've always thought, you know, for a pop star, her tunes are pretty awesome.
Yeah. No,
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, in my mind, Jennifer Lopez has just always been consistently at the top.
Yeah. I agree with you. The interesting thing is, though, when you called her a diva, she's not being in that set of singers. And I wonder if she wanted to be, you know, when they've done those big diva concerts and, you know, with Mariah Carey, with, you know, I think Shania Twain was in one of those, and Cher, and Aretha Franklin, and, you know, just.
I mean, it's quite a variety of singers, ultimately, in terms of quality of voices and quality of vocal performances. And I feel like J-Lo doesn't get to, she hasn't really been included amongst them.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Also, like, I don't know, I heard her when she was singing in this doc, like, and it seemed unmiked and just casually singing, like just singing along with different things. I thought she sounded great.
No, she does. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I mean, that's the thing. There's nothing wrong with it. That doesn't mean it's great, though.
Well, I mean, I've always heard, like, people have tried to tell me that she can't sing at all, and that it's all.
I don't think that's true.
And I don't think that's true at all. But I think that, like, that's a lot of attitude towards her, which is, she's, because like, I mean, there's huge, like, ideas that she doesn't even record her own vocals, that she has like different vocals that are used in her records, et cetera, et cetera. Like there's all kinds of sort of conspiracy theory stuff around that. I don't know. It sounded like she could at least carry a tune in this.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this kind of just, like, to me, she's always just seemed like a super successful at whatever she does, but this movie kind of, like, gave me an understanding of, like, what she thinks she hasn't, achieved and what she thinks her vulnerabilities are.
Well, I think the other thing that it gave me an understanding of is, even though it is like, again, I think I do stand by my idea that it's like documenting her low-key radicalization. She hasn't really done maybe enough of the work to think about the bigger issues behind sort of economic disparity and inequality. And the idea that we go from her making this huge political statement to ending the documentary partnering with Goldman Sachs. And I know it's for the greater good. It's to create this like huge investment fund for Latina women entrepreneurs. So that's important. But Goldman Sachs, like, being historically like considered one of, the sort of great financial evils of the world, there's just, the Twains are not meeting in aspects of this. Like, it's so funny to me to just like not take it that extra step. So I'm very interested to see sort of like where some of her philanthropy goes in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And whether she'll ever be able to like divest herself of like intense like hyper capitalism.
Yeah. And I mean, another interesting moment to me was at the very end, and how like in the end of the movie they show all of her stats and like how many records she sold, how successful, all these things. And it's like, oh, that's not necessary. We know you're super successful.
Yeah, we get it. Yeah.
We don't need to look at these numbers.
I know there was a moment when I
know.
saw Mariah Carey live where she just kind of looks at the audience in a peculiar way and says, "You all know I wrote and produced these songs, don't you?"
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people didn't.
Yeah,
like,
and
she has
I
to say it.
That she has to say it to a room of people who paid to see her. I mean, that is a really interesting moment I felt watching her. And I do feel that there might be a little bit of, I think everyone wants a project like this movie to go along with where they think they are in their careers and what they think they're owed and how much they've worked for it.
Maybe she's owed more than she's received, at least in terms of sort of credit for the work that she's done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Clap.
I wonder what the next chapter is going to be for Jennifer Lynn Affleck.
Well, I honestly hope it's a name change back to J-Lo, because I think
J-Lo,
that's a little catchier.
because I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope that, honestly, I hope she does. Like, I hope she gets her hands on a great movie. I hope she can get some like a really decent script in front of her that allows her to tap into what she can do, because she has not had that opportunity in years. And I want that for her.
Mm-hmm. I want that for her too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Me too.
All right. So does this movie pop?
Yes.
Yes.
But I'm glad you called it a movie too. That's good. I want it on record. This is not a documentary.
It is a vanity project movie that is based in reality.
Yes, there we go.
But that is also
the writer comes up with it, the perfect thing.
That is ultimately successful, as a testament to why she needs a vanity project. Because honestly, a lot of movies,
I like that.
all they do is like slap one credit on top of another if they're a vanity project, and you're just like, yeah, we knew all this. We didn't need you to like lay it out. Like, you already get so many accolades. There were no other accolades to give you. J-Lo makes a strong case.
Is Marry Me more of a documentary than Halftime?
I mean, honestly,
maybe.
Like, I think its intention was definitely to, I really think that there's a version of Marry Me that was like a really, like, I don't know if it ever got there and then got tailed back, or like, I don't know what happened, but like that it was like supposed to be a really like unflinching satire of a rom-com and of J-Lo as a human, like as herself. And then it got like sort of just squashed into this like conventional nothing box that like, you know, has Owen Wilson as a leading man. And that's what happened. It's like, yeah.
Big sigh.
Rest in peace,
Gosh,
Marry
wow.
Me.
Yeah.
We love to leave our episodes on something that we recommend. AG, do you want to go first?
Sure. I would actually like to recommend an article I read this week by our very own Andrea Warner.
Oh, me?
Who wrote a personal essay called Grieving, Dreaming, and Drinking in LA. And it was just such a fantastic essay, and it really moved me to tears in some parts.
Thank you.
And I think, read it. It's, I don't know, A-dubs, you might probably do a better job of talking about what it's about, but it's about how the song Drinking in LA by Brand Van 3000 changed your life.
Thank you. That's so nice of you. I feel like really happy that people have responded to it, and it was, I don't know, it felt good to write it too. But it also felt weird. And and I got the most amazing. So I've had a lot of beautiful feedback, really lovely feedback. Couple of weird little moments. That's fine. Won't go into those right now. Got an email yesterday from a man, of course, who, all caps, headline, subject line, Brand Van 3000 are not a one-hit wonder. And then he went on to include the Wikipedia entry for the band. And he accused me, said, a journalist of my caliber should not be making such statements, and that obviously I was misinformed, and then said that I should apologize and issue a retraction. And I laughed so hard at this email, because if that's your main takeaway from this essay, I cannot help you, sir. I'm sorry. Like, if this
just like miss the entire point of your essay.
I don't think he read it beyond that. He was just like, you know what? Now that I've read that deck, I'm not going to go beyond this, because obviously whatever follows will be equally at fault. But I defy you to tell me that Brand Van 3000 has another hit single.
Like, name another
Astounded.
hit song of theirs.
With
What?
Curtis Mayfield. It's one of my favorite songs.
I've never heard that song before.
Yeah, it's one of my
in terms
favorites,
of,
but
like,
that's it.
The same
That's
level
it.
of hit single, though.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you, AG. That's really lovely. I really appreciate it. And
Fantastic essay.
Thank you. Lisa, what about you?
Yeah, so I'm just going to stay on the theme that we have with the Vanity Project documentary things on Netflix and say that I really enjoyed the Shania Twain, Not Just a Girl. That came out in July, so not that long after, weirdly. And it just is a real kind of catch you up to her career, where it started. A little less focused on one particular time, like the way that Jennifer Lopez one is. This is more like a career retrospective. And has anyone watched it yet? Really good. I really enjoyed it.
I haven't watched it yet. I was supposed to be in it.
What? Oh, because of your book. Yes.
Yeah. So the director and I, we like tried to make it happen, but it was just like, it was so pandemic-y, like, and he really wanted to send a film crew to my home.
Oh,
and I was just like,
gosh.
I'm so sorry. Like, I just can't, like, right. Like we've got my grandma. I can't. And so we tried to make it happen, but like, it didn't happen.
Wow. Well, okay. Then you have to watch it. You would have been in a very good, it's really great. It made me like her that much more, which I guess was the point. But it is, it's also,
as we now
yeah,
know.
it does have dark moments in it, and it does have some challenging moments for her. And anyway, really enjoyed it. So, you can have a double header for if you haven't watched the Jennifer Lopez and Shania Twain documentaries.
That'd be great. And I'm very excited to watch it. I am going to recommend the new record from Winnipeg-based band Living Hour. The record is called Someday Is Today. It's out on Friday, September 2nd, so you'll be able to hear it when you hear this episode. And it's just a great record. I love it so much. It is dreamy and nostalgic and weird in places. And particularly the song Middle Name, I just like, I described it as like someone wanting to split themselves open to try and swallow the world whole. And like, who doesn't relate to that? You know? I just loved it. Anyway, so I highly recommend Living Hour's new record. Go listen to it.
Excellent.
That sounds excellent.
Yeah.
Yay. Well, thank you everyone for listening. You can hang out with us on the social medias. You could rate and review us 5 stars.
5 stars always. And thank you to Andrea Gin, our producer and co-host here. And thank you all for listening. And it's great to be back. I have to say, I've missed everyone. I mean, I probably missed you two most, but I'm sure, you know.
Especially above your children.
Yes. Who? Yeah. But I missed you both very much, and it's great to be back.
Yay.
It's great to have you back.
Yeah.
Bye.
I guess we're done.
Bye, everybody.